This time I'm wearing the mic right there. This is the fairly new Rode Lavalier 2, and it replaces the old Lavalier, which is this one I'm holding here. The differences are quite large actually. On the face of it, they both look small and they're both Lavaliers and all that sort of thing, but this is the old Rode Lavalier. It has a bigger clip. It holds the lavalier itself further away from the body via this wire bit here, and also the capsule is very small because it's facing upwards and the diameter of this is very narrow. It's a round plastic type of wire and quite a hefty plug I have on the end. The plug is interchangeable, but that's the old Lavalier. It sounds very good actually. Now the advantage of having this sort of tubular look about your microphone is the fact that it can be hidden very easily and it can be put underneath things, etc, etc. So it's very, very tiny. As you can see, it's really narrow. The new one has the microphone part, the capsule part, facing outwards, not upwards. And that means that they can insert a larger capsule. Lavalier mics are quite a compromise. They are very small and they're convenient to use, but the trade-off is they do make more noise. It's quite surprising, even if you go to higher end types of lavaliers, they still have noise levels of about 67, 66, 67, 68 dB, which is quite loud. So if you're in a quiet room, you could notice that quite easily. But when you're out and about, it's not too bad. Now the differences between the old one and the new one, I'll just demonstrate on the old one. It has a smaller clip, it has a flatter profile, it has a larger capsule facing outwards, it has a flat, I think it's Kevlar as well, flat lead, 1.2 meters I think, and it has a screw fit plug on the bottom. It comes with a nice little carrying case, although personally I prefer the old one like that, more hefty, and it's also waterproof, so I use this really. And as you can see, it's a pretty flat profile. The package itself consists of a specially made foamy because it's a square microphone, it's not round, so you've got a nice little foamy that goes on the top. You've got a fluffy as well with a square fitting, so this is maybe perhaps a source of another problem. You've got to use these things to be able to fit them, so if you want a replacement for these things, you're going to have to go back to Rode. Would have been nice actually if they'd given us two of each really, because they're going to be lost, but we'll see. And also these little ID rings, coloured ID rings, if you're using more than one microphone. Makes me laugh, there's a warning that the wire, and it's very difficult to remove this, you can't just pull it off, it's a strangulation hazard. So as a test, I've been using it all the time. This is the sound of the Rode Lavalier 2. I'm now going to swap over to the Rode Lavalier Original. This is the sound of the Rode Lavalier, the original lavalier that came out. By the way, the original was much more expensive than the new version. And this is the sound of the new Rode Lavalier, the Lavalier 2. And I'm back to the original Rode Lavalier. One thing I've got to say about the Rode Lavalier, the old one, is that there is a difference also with the plugs. With the new one, the plug is fitted on. You can't change this plug, it's on. With the old one, you could take the thing off. It was a little screw thing, a little bolt on there, and you could take it off, and if you wanted to fit it to something else that wasn't 3.5, you could do that. So this is the old lavalier. I'm now on the new lavalier, so hopefully you can hear that there are some slight differences between the two. So to finish, what do I think of the Rode Lavalier 2 compared to the Rode Lavalier? Is it worth changing from the original lavalier to the Lavalier 2? I'm not sure it's worth changing. There are slight differences in sound, but they can be, I suppose, EQ'd if you want to. It's a lot cheaper than the original, and it's certainly, if you've got an original that's playing up or the plug's starting to get worn out or whatever, I would change to the new Lavalier 2. It's got a nice healthy sound, and I must admit, when I've used it out and about, it's done the job pretty well, and I haven't been aware that it's just the lav that I'm using. They do have their limitations. They've got a restricted amount of sound that they can take into those tiny capsules, so the dynamic range is a little bit more crushed compared to other microphones. They hiss a little bit more, but take these outside where there's noise, no one's really going to notice. Now, just to give you some negatives, the plug can't be changed any longer. So with the original you can change the plug, with the new one you can't without doing a solder job, and I think that's going to be difficult because the cable is much thinner. It's a very thin flat cable on the new one. The old one's still like a normal sort of round cable. The other thing, it has a very flat profile, so when you've got it on a flat profile like this, it's very close to your body. I would be careful about putting it too high because it might pick up a lot more from your throat sounds and therefore become chesty and bassy sounding, whereas the other one holds the microphone slightly further away. This one has the microphone facing out, that one has the microphone facing up, so that one, because it's thin, has a very small capsule, smaller than this one, so there's going to be a difference in sound and possibly actually slightly in noise as well. I do think it's a nice lavalier to use, and I do recommend it actually if you're looking for a lavalier. It's a nice middle of the road type of lavalier. It's a nice thing to have, and I think this one for me is going to be used a lot. I hope to see you next time. Cheers for now.